you don't seem enthused by that. Yeah, disagree completely.
No, no, a lot goes into a lot goes into a running shoe and how it fits and how it works for people. Yeah, I agree with that.
Running with Maverick and Wolfman. Maverick here.
Wolfman here. Don't forget to find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and the big one, YouTube. When you find us there, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. But the big thing is the thumbs up. That helps the algorithms to bring us to you.
That's it.
That's all we need.
That's it. Just do that.
Thumbs up.
All right. Today we're going to be talking about bests and worsts. A lot of in there.
Yeah, and I told you when you text me that. Of course, my car read it, but I don't know what apparel and sausage have to do with anything. But let's do this.
Bests and worsts.
See, I
Here we
thought it said
go. All right,
vest and
Wolfman.
worst.
Oh, you don't read right.
My car doesn't read
All
right.
right, let's put it this way. All right, what is your best car you've ever had?
Ooh, best car I ever had. Uh, I would say 2010 Ford Mustang convertible V8 manual because it was a muscle car. I
Because
loved
it was
that thing.
cool.
Oh, it was awesome.
That's it.
How
It could
about
have been the
you?
worst car, but it was cool. Uh, I would say probably the Ford Taurus SES Sport. Had all the bells and whistles, the big engine, all that stuff. That was probably
Yeah.
my favorite.
I,
Um,
yeah.
Now let's talk about your worst. What is the worst
Oh,
vehicle?
worst vehicle I ever had, and I mean I had some like bought for $300 cars and things like that. But the worst car I ever had was a Saturn View. That thing was terrible, terrible.
Do they still make those? They don't still make those, right?
If they do, it's a crime. If they do, it's a crime. That car
It's
was terrible.
if they make them, it's probably in a different country. It's probably outside the U.S. Yeah, I don't remember seeing any of their stuff, but yeah, I remember they were popular back in the day.
Yeah, but
Uh, they didn't seem like, at least the couple that I rode in, they didn't seem like legit vehicles. It seemed
yeah.
like you just took an engine and kind of built something around it.
So from the looks of it, you would think, oh, that good in the snow, things like nope, it was terrible in the snow. It was hard to work on by yourself if something went wrong. It just terrible car, terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
How
I
about
would
you?
I had and it wasn't necessarily the make or anything, but I had a lemon Infinity one time,
Mm.
and the thing just it would short out when it got wet. So if it rained or snowed and the snow melted, the thing wouldn't start, and I ended up like towing it over and over again, and it was just a nightmare vehicle, and like just it just would sit in my driveway, and I'd just spend money on it. It was one of those things, but that
That's
was the
terrible.
worst. Yeah, no, that was by far the worst, and that wasn't like a $300 car either.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was the thing. This View wasn't either. Like that's the thing. I've
Yeah.
had cheaper cars that worked so much better.
I'm always that's the thing. Like you hear these stories about people, they're like, "Oh, I spent $500, I spent $1,000," and they're driving it for like years. I'm like, "How is that possible? How did you find?" That's amazing. It's amazing.
but
fifteen
it
hundred
happens.
bucks. You drove for 3 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It does. Um, but yeah, those are the best and worst of the vehicles. Now let's talk about something a little bit different. Best running workout. What's your like best, your
Oh,
favorite, uh, something like that?
best running workout. Um,
Yeah, like your favorite, you could say even.
yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think. I definitely I like tempo repeats. Um,
Tempo repeats.
tempo repeats. I would even say even tempo, even mile repeats at tempo pace. I like those, but I'm talking like two
So let's
mile,
just
two
let's
mile
break down
tempo
what tempo.
repeats.
What does tempo mean for those that are new to the show or don't know what tempo
Yeah.
means?
So tempo pace is. I mean, I guess the best way to describe it would be uncomfortably hard. Or
For some
is
people,
that
that's just every run like that.
yeah? It's it's faster. It's faster than your
That's what
easy
I'm trying to
pace, much
say.
faster than your easy pace, but it's not as
Right,
fast as your. It's not as fast
right,
as your race pace. It's probably what a minute off your race pace. So I don't know. I like tempos. I prefer tempo repeats. Miles are good, but I'm talking like 2 mile tempo repeat with X amount of time in between the next one. I like them on cross country courses, not just tracks. Um, and you feel like you're working, but you don't feel like you're dying, and you feel like you could kind of, oh, I could do another one. Oh, I could do another one. Oh, I could do another one.
right,
Which is a good feeling. How about
right.
you?
Uh, I would say 400 repeats. Nice little warm up, little stretch, and then just course on the track. Little break in between. The break, whatever you want. You can do like a 10-second break. You can do a minute break. Whatever you need to recover. But basically, just repeating those 400s and then cooling down afterwards. That's my favorite workout. Now, what's your least worst?
The worst workout, um,
Mm-hmm.
just the way I feel afterwards. I think they're beneficial, but I would say the worst workouts are the quick repeats where you're at race pace and
Mm-hmm.
like 400s, 200s. I don't know. They're just, I don't like
Getting
that feeling like you're dying the whole time.
yeah. Yeah, see, I
I'm glad they're
prefer those.
short.
Yeah, I what I don't like is the weird distances like 1,000 repeats. I'm not like I don't
See,
just
I
make
don't
it
mind.
12 or 8 mile. Like I don't like the thousand.
Yeah. See, I don't mind the thousands, the 1200s, um, because they end up being a little bit slower, and I think that's why.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm not a fan of the thousands because like you don't know how to like pace it. You run like you're running a half mile, but you're running extra, and it's just it's not
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah.
All right, let's talk about this. Best and worst races ever
That we've done or watched or what
that you've partook in,
partaken in. I would
partaken, right?
say, and I'm gonna. This is not favorite race or most fun race or anything like that. But I would say the best race I felt. It wasn't even my best time. Was probably the 2011 Steamtown Marathon. Um, I just felt good, just clicking the miles, hitting the pace. I felt strong. It was the first one I did after we had kids and had to take a lot of time away from training and things like that. And I probably felt the best I ever felt during a marathon with that one. And it wasn't, I mean, I like the Steamtown Marathon, don't get me wrong, but it's not my favorite race. It wasn't
Yeah,
my best time. Um, but it was just I felt good, felt strong, felt back in the game.
yeah, that's cool.
So, and then you said the worst.
Yeah.
My worst race, I would still say, is the Run for the Red. I forget which year it was. I think it was 2010. No, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I forget the year, but anyway, Run for the Red. Um, it was just
Now, what
terrible.
happened in that run for the red? What was the problem there?
It was super hot, but the kicker was they directed us the wrong way. Um, so that combined with the heat and missing a bunch of water stops that I'd planned for was just mentally defeating, and I just couldn't overcome it. And the big kicker was that is probably the best prepared I ever felt going into a marathon. Like I really thought I was going to be running. I mean, I was set up for a good time. So when they directed us the wrong way, too, like I was within the top 10 to 15 of the race. I think I was in eighth place at that point. And so we're talking about the leaders. Like they directed the leaders the wrong way. And I mean, I've told this story before, but
Right. Well, they
I
had
was
it
some.
there.
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say I was somewhat familiar with the area because we lived in the
I was gonna
Poconos
say
at the
they.
time. And we're coming down a hill, and I'm thinking to myself, we are not supposed to be on this road. And I see some guys up ahead of us pulled to the side and they get out of their vehicle. Sure enough, you guys are going the wrong way. But don't worry, if you just keep going down this road, it connects back up to the race course up ahead. But at that point, it was already, oh man, went up a couple of hills we weren't supposed to go up, missed a bunch of water stops. It was just, for me, it was mentally defeating, and I didn't recover from it.
So I thought you were gonna say that one where you got sick right afterwards. The
No,
indoor
I mean
meet.
that was bad. That in college there, yeah, that was bad. But no,
Different kind of
that
bad.
was not the worst. What about yourself?
Yeah.
Best and worst.
That's fine. Best, I'd probably say, I did this 5K down, I'd say it would be kind of north of Philly, and just clicked in really well. It was a kind of a colder morning, and I just kind of went out with the group, and then kind of shook everybody loose, and just came home with a win by kind of a lot, and just felt really good that day. It was like right after college, like it was probably like right after got out of school. Um, and then the worst, oh gosh, there was some bad ones. Um, that time we ran Baptist Bible, maybe a
Yeah,
freshman year, that sticks out
yeah.
as like one of the worst. That repeat 5 miles, just 5 loops up and down the hill, like that was a horrible experience. It felt like it wasn't a race. I felt like it was just some awful workout.
I think I had to sit with that one out. I think I was having some knee troubles, and I had to sit out a meet or two, and I think that was one of them. But I remember watching it and thinking, "Holy moly!" Because wasn't there a hill on that course that was you might as well just crawl up it,
It
like it was so
was
steep.
Yeah, there was people walking on it. It was
Yeah,
bad. It was bad. That was bad. And then I remember when it wasn't a race, but it was a time trial. We did time trial in preseason, and I was sick, and I was horribly ill, and that was pretty bad too. That
yeah.
was
It's
probably the
not
worst.
not fun to try to run
There was
hard
a
when
there was
you're
another
sick.
there was a cool one. I just want to
What's that?
no, not especially not when you're like actually like ill,
Yeah,
not just like a cold. I,
right.
I wasn't just like I didn't just have a cold. I had like some kind of virus or something where I was like in bad shape. Like I couldn't breathe right. Like it was bad. Uh, I remember what another cool race that I did was we ran like this high school meet one time, and just the way that the weather was, it was raining, and just all this fog came in, and you can only see like like 50 to 75 meters of the track at a time. So like you would run around and then run in through fog and like barely be able to see, and you couldn't see like people in front of you and stuff. It was really pretty cool.
That'd be pretty
So, yeah,
cool.
I think it was from the
That'd be neat.
mile that day. It's pretty neat.
That'd be neat.
Yeah, it was like you'd run in and out of the fog. It was pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool. we had a cross country meet last year that we took the kids to. That was at the big event. The varsity race was at night. That was pretty neat. They had it all like,
Yeah.
it's in October, so they had it all decked out for Halloween and stuff, and they had like glow lights and glow sticks, and it was really cool, and it was neat to watch. And the kids said it was a blast to run, and I mean, it was a fast times. I mean, not just my kids, but teams ran well. But it was really neat. It was cool that they put that on for the kids.
All right. So, bests and worsts. Ready?
I'm ready.
Um, best pair of running shoes.
Oh, that's the one I was going to ask you. Now you took my thing. Um, Best and worst pair of running shoes. I'll start with my
Yeah.
worst. And I was really disappointed in these because it was one of the first ones I think I ever bought for myself. The Nike Shocks when they first came out, had to have them. Was so excited about them because they looked cool. Man, they
They
sucked.
did not look cool.
They were the they were the
They were the
worst.
weirdest looking.
Oh, they were the
They were so
worst ones.
high. It was like you're wearing a heel. That they were
Oh
just
yeah, yeah.
awkwardly designed.
And and
I
around
never could
here,
understand why they thought like
what's that?
I could never understand why they thought that was going to be a good thing.
I don't know. I mean,
Like
I was excited for them, but they caked with mud, they caked with snow. It was terrible. Like they were comfortable, but
yeah.
they were not a good running shoe. Um,
They seem like a shoe that you just couldn't like go off road with.
yeah, that would be a fair thought.
Yeah.
um, but the best pair of running shoes. I mean, I like the shoes I have now, but I would say my favorite pair of running shoes I ever had were the New Balance Minimus series. They had a road version and a trail version, and they were comfortable. They were lightweight. Um, the trail version was grippy, like it was a good trail shoe. Um, they lasted a long time, and they stopped making them. So no more
Yeah,
Minimus.
they always do. Or change it. They change the name, the
Yeah.
design. Yeah, whenever it's like inevitable.
What about you? That was my question. What was your best and worst running shoe?
So the worst was I'd picked up a pair of Nike Pegasus, just like something to just put some miles on, just to kind of
Yeah.
use them.
You don't like the
And
Pegasus?
well, I don't know if you're thinking of the new ones or the old ones, but these are like a newer version.
Okay.
But the old pair was like a normal running shoe. This thing
Yeah.
was it was like a sock with a sole on it. It
Hmm.
didn't allow you to like get that good tight secure feeling in your foot. It was like
Okay.
you're moving around and sliding around inside of it. And I tried to run on a cross country course with it, and I couldn't do it. I felt like I was going to twist my ankle or just like get blistered up. It just did not
Hmm.
work. I was like, you cannot wear these things off road. And then I tried running on the road with them, and I hated them. I
Hmm.
honestly just did not care for the shoe at all. And I made it just a walking around shoe after that. I said, I
Yeah.
don't even know how they're calling this a running shoe.
Huh.
I don't know if I just got a weird version or what, but I picked it up, like I said, just to kind of knock around and did not care for it at all. And my the best I always like Adidas. So my favorite was like this. I think it was like Adidas Clima Control, yada yada yada. It was something that
Yeah.
was expensive back in the day, and then they got rid of it. They changed the name of it. Like they would just change it every few years. So I never remembered the like true names of them because they were always very
Right.
close. They
Yeah.
changed a
Yeah.
little bit of the name, and but it was a great shoe. It lasted me many many months of running and lots of miles. And I was on the trail, off the trail, on the road, in the grass, running everywhere, and it just held up really well. So I could never say anything real bad about their products, especially if you spend like a decent amount of money on them. They always seem to work out
Yeah.
well for the season.
Yeah. Yeah. Which what company is it that does the numbers? Is that New Balance? Like they name all their
New
shoes by
Balance, yeah, has
number.
all those,
I don't know how people
which is actually
remember the
pretty
number.
well because think about it. Like you're only gonna like maybe like one or two different shoes, so you're gonna remember that number. I think they do a lot of what 3-digit numbers,
I don't even know. I had
something
um
like that.
I liked their Minimus series, but then I did have a pair of New Balance just trainers, just running shoes, and I did not
Mhm.
care for them. I didn't care for the way they fit, or anything about them.
That's the brilliant thing about shoes, though, is that you have your preference based on your foot because like there's all these different foot types, the way you strike the ground, how much you weigh, how tall you are. You know, all these things come into play on personal preference of the shoe, and that's the brilliance of it.
Yeah.
You don't seem enthused by that. Yeah, disagree completely.
No, no, a lot goes into a lot goes into a running shoe and how it fits and how it works for people. Yeah, I agree with that. Where you're going to use it,
Absolutely.
how far you're going to run with it, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
All right.
It's just funny because, New Balance is a good shoe and you hear good things about it. And then that pair didn't work for me.
All right. So
So,
what's your question for me? I know you got one.
I was trying to think of some good ones. The best one I had was a shoe one, and you took that. We already know your Gatorade, mistake. um,
Lemon lime.
um, how about I was trying to think of this one, but I didn't. It didn't end up being a good one, I don't think. But um, best and worst race award, medal, whatever it might be.
Like just the way I didn't like what it was or what?
Yeah, yeah, what it was. So that's why I don't know if it's a good one because so many of them it's just a medal, and all the medals
Like
are
a
pretty
dumb,
similar. But
yeah. Okay. I think I know what you're talking. Yeah. I would say that the best the best is probably just, like one of the races where I got like a really cool like shirt, for winning and competing and whatnot. So that's probably the best. Just like I don't care for the medals as much as like if I get a cool shirt or something. Um that was pretty cool. And then the worst was when I won a 5K and they promised to send me a sweatshirt with the race on it, and they never did.
that would kind of suck.
Yeah, everyone else got something, and I won and got nothing. It's like it's a funny memory though, like
Yeah.
because if I got the sweatshirt, I would have, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But it was even funnier because I got nothing.
Well, it's one of those things. Like, how does that even happen? You know, like,
You
like
don't count right.
well, like I've been to races where like, oh, they accidentally shipped us, you know, two second place medals for this age group, you know. But I don't think I've ever been to a race where it's like, oh yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
overall
yeah.
winners award isn't here.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. They're like, "We don't have your sweatshirt that was your prize. So what's your address and we'll send it to you." And then they never did.
Yeah, Uncle Russ is
Never
probably
called me, nothing.
rolling around in it somewhere. Your dad got it and kept it.
Never received that. They probably sent it to like the wrong address. I bet you they did send it. Like it just went to like the wrong person. They're like, "Sweet, free shirt, sweet sweatshirt."
All right, I don't know who this guy is, but this is comfy.
They always send you like the wrong size too. It was probably like the perfect
Yeah,
matchup. They're like, "Oh, awesome."
yeah, yeah. That's funny.
Um, yeah, that was funny.
I gotcha. I'd say the worst for me. It was at a track meet in college, and they gave us like way oversized shirts instead of medals and ribbons and stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
I mean, I'm talking like, I think the shirt I got was a 2XL, and I'm like, yeah, not keeping that. I don't even know what I did with it. It might have given it. I might have given it to one of the throwers, to be honest with you. Like, I did not keep it. And then I would say the coolest medals I ever got were from the Disney runs. They were neat. they move and stuff like that. They're pretty cool medals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So let's think here. I don't know if
All
this
right.
is a good one.
Here's the
Oh, go
question.
ahead.
What best and worst priced races?
Ooh. Uh Man. I would say so many of them, in my opinion, are overpriced. I mean, I'll say that from the start. Probably the
I
worst.
know, right? It's like every other race.
Yeah, I would say the worst one on the wallet was probably the Disney one because it was so expensive. But I mean,
Hmm.
you got a lot. I mean, I got 6 shirts, 6 medals, ran 4 races, got after race packages after each race. Um, got a cool Mickey Mouse thing at the very end of the marathon. So I mean, you got a fair amount for what you paid, but man, so expensive. And
Yeah. Yeah. You're paying for it.
probably the best priced one, I don't even know, to be honest with you. Um, I mean, the one year I did
All right. I got
Boston.
this. This is easy.
Yeah, go ahead.
The best is always the one that you get for free because you know someone or they ask you to do it and they give you, yeah,
Yeah,
those are always the best. Like, come out, do this race. You don't have to pay your entrance fee. That's the best. The
yeah,
worst, I don't even remember, like, fee wise. I'm trying to think of it, but I I wouldn't say it was like the worst price, but I think there's been some like um indoor, like my team didn't have an indoor team. We just had an outdoor track team, so we had to go and compete independently. And I
yeah,
remember like go into some races and we're like, these aren't worth the money. Like whatever we paid to enter, it was not worth it. Like it was
yeah.
just crappily put together and stuff.
I got
I do
you.
remember that. So
I
that's what I
got
would say
you.
is not necessarily the worst price because a lot of the races, when you go in the community, they're pretty well. You can't really complain about like like whatever $30 or whatever. That's
Yeah,
it's no big
yeah,
deal, and it's good enough. Even if it's not the best, but back in the day, they used to give you, like you said, they used to give you like the worst shirt. It's the too big of a size. Like they got a deal on it. Like, okay, well, if you buy, 150 extra larges, we'll give them to you for $3 a piece.
yeah, yeah. But I'm not. I mean, like I said, they're all kind of expensive, but I don't know what the best
Well, you're
would
talking
be.
marathon. So the marathon and half marathon, the longer races are more expensive. It's the short
They are.
races that are affordable.
I want to say I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be way off probably, but I feel like
But
the
I don't
run for
like. I
the
mean, I get it, and I don't. I get it, and I don't get it.
well, I mean, I Runner's World one time had a write up all about the breakdown of the pricing of races, and people think that they're pocketing most of this money, and they're really not. Like a lot of it goes to paying the different fees for like the ordinances they have to go through and all that kind of stuff.
Road
And even
closures.
even with that, most of the people
Yeah.
there are
I mean,
volunteers, so it's not like they're paying those people. And it was very eye opening to see the breakdown of how much goes back into
yeah.
the the pocket. It's very very little. Um, it was pretty wild, but um,
Well, there is employees in
people are paid.
that. Yeah, there are employees that are getting
Yeah.
paid to work on that, and they work on it all year. That's their job. I mean, for those bigger
Hmm.
races and things like that, which makes sense, and
Yeah.
they should get paid because they're doing a lot of work, hard work to get that organized. And like you said, there's a bunch of fees, there's road closures, there's all kinds of stuff that goes
Right.
into it. It's there's a lot of planning. So I understand that, but I mean, what's your limit? I mean, where do you draw the line and say I'm not spending that much money on a race for one
Yeah.
marathon? Like, where's the limit for you?
I mean, I've never really thought about it, but I would say it's whatever you're comfortable with. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
some of it, honestly, some of it I
Now, some
figure
of our
like,
friends, they win money back.
what's that?
Some of our friends and some of the people we've had on the show, they get paid or they get money prizes, and I mean that's different
Yeah,
too. Because if you start thinking like, oh, well, I might win $500 in this race, well, then all of a sudden, your entrance fee of 250 is no big deal. If you're
right.
flying in somewhere and there's a grand prize of $2,000 and it costs you $1,000 to get there and stay at a hotel and all that stuff, you might not care about it, but it just depends.
Yeah. Now
I mean, that's why a
I've
lot of people just run locally. They don't do the
yeah.
traveling because it's expensive.
I've thought before, like, I'm not going to pay that price to run a half marathon when I can pay almost the same price to run a full marathon. Like, I'm just not gonna, I'm not gonna do that. Or I'm not gonna pay this much money to run a
See, I
5K.
I would be the opposite. I'd be like, no, I'll pay extra.
Not me. Um, but I feel like the run for the diamond is always the same. I don't know. I'm sure it's gone up, but I feel like it doesn't. I feel like it's always the same. And I can't remember what that price is. So that's
Yeah,
why I say I'm
maybe they just
probably
trickle
wrong.
it, to $2 or something. 2% increase,
Yeah. Like I said,
something
I'm
like
sure it's
that. I'm
gone up
just
because
kidding.
I've
I
been
have
doing
no
it for
idea.
over 20 years, but I feel like it's not. But yeah.
That's well done.
Um, I know you haven't done many, but best and worst after race experience. I'm going to call it after party, but they're not always after parties.
Oh, geez. Um, let's think about that. I mean, afterwards, you usually feel pretty good. So, I mean, I almost enjoy the after of every race. There was a one we did a long time, not a long time ago, a couple years ago, 3, 4 years ago. Anyway, I did one, and there was like kind of like a festival going on. So every like restaurant and bar and everything was open, so we were able to go and have food and drink and sit out in the sun. It was a nice summer day. That was probably the
That's pretty
coolest
cool.
thing because then everybody was out and about. Yeah, and it was early. It was like early in the day, and the worst is just when you run one in the cold somewhere, like when you're
Yeah.
out, like you're not near anything, and there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. I'm just gonna get in your car and drive for like an hour, hour and a half back to your house because you just went to this like obscure race that no one goes to. Those are the worst. You're like, why did I do this? I should have just ran a workout.
And then you're sweaty and you're cold and yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and you're like hungry, and you're like, there's nowhere to eat, and I didn't bring any food, and you know that traveling back, honestly, traveling back in college from a lot of those races, when we had to travel quite a distance, that's the worst part. Like you're famished from not
Yeah.
eating all day, and you ran a bunch of miles, and then all of a sudden you got to travel, and you're like, oh my gosh, like just want something to eat. And we're passing like restaurant after restaurant, town after town. We'll eat down the road a little bit.
Yeah. You're sweaty. You might be muddy if it was a cross country race. Yeah.
The bus was smelly, right? Everybody's kind of sweaty. Yeah. Vans were the worst. The vans were worse than the
Yeah.
buses, though. Like way too close to people.
This is before Febreze. Febreze was just starting.
Yeah, the start of, and even with like cell phones and stuff, like iPods were like just coming in.
Yeah.
So like almost nobody had an iPod. Yeah,
Right,
like you had people
right.
had CD players, things like that was not. There was no entertainment. You're pretty much not enjoying that trip. That's funny.
That's wild.
Got any more?
I'd say the the worst. It was fun, but then they started changing it. The worst after party or after event I ever did was we used to go to one that they had a chili cook off afterwards, And the first couple years, it was a lot of fun, but then they started limiting it to where only the runners could go into the chili cook-off. So then it was like any of your supporters couldn't get in there. So that kind of was terrible. And I would say the best one was probably the Boilermaker. Boilermaker's after party is crazy. So much fun up in Utica, New York. Ends right at a brewery.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun. Um, so those are the questions I
Yeah,
had. Yeah,
cool.
man.
Bests and worsts. We're gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, man. I like it.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the show. Get out there, get your best and worst.
Yeah.
Maverick and Wolfman running out.